Welcome to the first post-game inquiry show. My name is Brennan Kerner. I am the owner of Bulldog Inquirer, and we're kind of just going to jump into this past week's games. This is being recorded on Sunday, October the 20th. Georgia fans, are you worried? Because should be. It was a rough game. The weather didn't permit much scoring, but Georgia's offense still looks stagnant. Jake Fromm only threw for 35 yards, 9 out of 12 passes. The passing just wasn't there. Coley and the game calling was just very stagnant. Not a lot behind it. There were a couple bright parts of Georgia's football this past game against Kentucky Wildcats. The defense shutout. That was a good performance by them. Kentucky did not move the ball at all. Rushing, passing, it wasn't happening. Tay Crowder, Monty Rice flew around in the middle of the field. The secondary guys like J.R. Reed and Richard LeCount were playing very well, and that's always been a solid part of Georgia's game. Georgia has been a defensive team. I'd say probably in the past since Kirby Smart's gotten here. Kirby Smart has brought in his defensive mind in and helped out with Georgia's defensive prowess. Another bright spot, a very big bright spot, was DeAndre Swift carried the ball for I think 25 times and ran for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was definitely probably the only spark Georgia had, and it's why they won the game 21-0. Georgia just can't look stagnant. They're ranked 10 in the AP poll right now, and even the new one that just came out today, they're still ranked 10th. They just got jumped by Auburn, who ended up beating Arkansas, I think 51-10. So even though Georgia didn't look good, they're still top 10. They're still in the hunt. Georgia fans shouldn't be worried really about their spot in the college football playoff chances, but they should be worried about how well they're executing on offense and what it looks like going forward. Especially they got Florida in 2 weeks. They have a bye week this week for the October 26th Saturday, but in November 2nd they got to go down and play that Jacksonville game, and that game is always a very big game that anything can really happen because it's a rivalry game. That's how things work. So I don't know. Florida hasn't really impressed me either, but Georgia has looked very stagnant these past couple games. I personally thought they were going to bounce back a lot harder than they did going into this Kentucky game after a loss at home to South Carolina. But they didn't. They still look stagnant. Now, granted, it was pouring. It was torrential downpour. I'm in Athens, pouring down rain. That's why I guess they didn't throw the ball a lot. But still, they looked very, very stagnant. And that's going to be the story until they can get some more explosive plays going. It does hurt that Lawrence Cager is out. He's still banged up a little bit. But, I mean, for me, I think he's probably their best wide receiver, biggest target. George Pickens made a couple good plays when he was throwing the ball, but other than that, Brian Herron ran the ball well, but didn't run for too many yards. Georgia just they need a little giddy up now. It's starting to close in on the end of the season. Luckily, their games don't look too difficult ahead. Missouri just got beat by Vanderbilt this past week, 21-14, I think the score was. Which was very surprising. Missouri is ranked number 22 going into that game. Also, Texas A&M, a team that a lot of people in the beginning of the season thought were going to be a very good team and possibly be a force to reckon with over in the West. But they are sitting at, I think, 4-3, maybe above 500. I mean, they have a tough schedule now. Don't get me wrong. They do have a tough schedule, but they just haven't looked very good. They didn't play very well this past week, and that will be a decent game. But they got Auburn still. Auburn looks pretty good. There's always a team that's going to be reckoned with in the West. But that's Georgia's outlook for really the rest of the season. They can still. I still believe if they win out and they beat either Alabama or LSU in the SEC championship, they get a bid into the college football playoffs. But Georgia's going to step it up. Other games that caught my eye around the league, obviously, biggest probably game of the weekend, Wisconsin getting upset by Illinois. That one was 24-23. I'm baffled. I mean, the game was in Champaign. So Illinois did have a backing, and Wisconsin didn't travel too well to that game. But, I mean, what can you do? I mean, Wisconsin's quarterback, 24 for 32, 264 yards and a touchdown. One of the Heisman candidates, Jonathan Taylor, ran for 28 carries, so 132 yards and 1 touchdown. He continues to impress me. I think he should be taken a little more serious when he's considered in the Heisman race. But, that game, Wisconsin, the defense just didn't play well. I think they had given up 21 points or something like that before that game. And Illinois ended up putting 24 on them, 10 of those coming in the fourth quarter. Cohn threw a very devastating pick towards the end of the game that gave Illinois great field position and gave them the ability to go down and kick that game-winning field goal with 1 second left. Props to the Illinois kicker for making that 34-yarder, I think it was. So that was the biggest upset probably of the week. This week 8 for college football was very weird. There was a lot of games that I thought were going to go differently than they did. It was just weird. I mean, South Carolina kept it close against Florida. South Carolina only lost by 11 when they probably could have at least scored another touchdown at the end there to make it a close game. Other games that kind of caught my eye. LSU beat Mississippi State 36-13, but Mississippi State is just not they're a decent team. They're just not a good team. LSU is expected to put up a lot of points this year. Joe Burrows is playing out of his mind. They've been putting up a lot of points, but they only win by 23, so still a good win. Alabama 35-13 over Tennessee, but Tennessee, I was watching that game. Tennessee had a couple momentum-killing plays that happened. There was a penalty on one of the outside linebackers that was unnecessary roughness. Also, another tidbit of information, Tua went out of that game early with an ankle injury, but I believe that he is expected to play against LSU in 2 weeks, which is good, but we don't know how healthy he's going to be. Alabama and LSU, that's going to be a game for the century, maybe. They're going to be 1-2 going into that week, and that's going to dictate probably who wins the West. Other games, Ohio State just absolutely murdered Northwestern. It was 52-3. Northwestern going into that game had, I think, a top 5 defense in the nation, and just absolutely got slaughtered. Justin Fields continues to impress. 18 for 23, 194 yards and 4 touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins, who's the Ohio State running back, ran for 18 carries, 121 yards and a touchdown. Ohio State continues to put up numbers. Over in the Big Ten, also, Penn State beat Michigan in a very close game, 28-21. Michigan actually had a chance to go down and tie the game up with, I think, a couple minutes left in the game. Shea Patterson on fourth and 2 from the goal line, throws a good, steps in the pocket, makes a good pass to a wide receiver over the middle, and the wide receiver just drops it, hits him in the chest, goes through his hands, and that was an opportunity that they had to tie the game up, maybe send it in overtime. But Michigan is not going to win any games when they allow 21 points in the first half and only score 1 touchdown. They did outgain Penn State. I think it was 423 yards to 282. I could be wrong about that, but Michigan looked good. Michigan's defense played very well in the second half. I think they only gave up 85 yards total in the second half. The first 5 drives were 4 3-and-outs, and they had 1 first down. So Michigan's defense and Don Brown are doing a very good job, but they just haven't been able to, find out their identity. And it's already halfway through the season. If they're going to make any big moves and win any big games coming up in the near future, they're going to have to start playing a little better. They got Notre Dame next week. They're going to still have Ohio State to play. So that was a game. Texas, big scare for Texas. Texas won 50-48. Les Miles and the Jayhawks actually went for 2 at the end of the game and got it. They were winning 48-47 and just couldn't close out. Sam Ehlinger balled out, 31 for 44, 399 yards and 4 touchdowns. Williams Jr., the Kentucky running back, had a very, very good game, 190 yards on 25 carries and 2 touchdowns. They could have pulled that one out. Kansas is not a good team right now. They are 2-5, I think 0-4 in the Big 10 or the Big 12. But they have Les Miles. Les Miles is a good coach, So in a couple of years, they might be a decent school that makes some bowl games and has a couple upsets in the Big 12 every year. That's about it for this football wrap up. Iowa didn't produce any. Appalachian State is still undefeated after giving UL Monroe a very big beatdown, 52-7 on that game. But that's just really about it. This college football weekend was very, very surprising. Probably the most entertaining one by far of the season. So it was fun to watch. But if you're a Georgia fan, you're posting up and watching this game podcast, watching the post game inquiries. It's be a little worried. I mean, Georgia has not produced like the nation expects them to produce. And if they expect to win the East and go to the SEC championship, they're going to have to start producing a little more, especially on offense. Thank you for tuning in. Head over to the BulldogInquirer.com for more football information along with national football news. We got NBA, Major League Baseball. The Astros and Nationals are set to meet in the World Series. It'll be a very good series. The Nationals have surprised a lot of people by winning over in the National League, but the Astros look good. I mean, Jose Altuve, 2-run walk-off to beat the Yankees in 6 games in the Conference Series Championship. So it's gonna be very interesting to see that matchup. We also have the Rushmore Sports Podcast. That'll be out every Wednesday on the website. It's basically pertaining to sports betting. We talk about money lines, spreads, over-unders, what teams to look forward to watch, what teams to seem to be locks in your betting, teams that may upset and win you a lot of money. So go over to thebulldogInquirer.com. Thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And leave a comment below if you have any questions. Then if you have any concerns about Georgia football, or if you have any questions for next week's episode, that will be every Sunday night. Thank you for tuning in, and that'll be it.